Hello, everyone. Welcome to our discussion of Chapter 2, The Sun Also Rises. Okay, here we go. So, immediately in Chapter 2, what stands out to me is the introduction of bullfighting and the matadors. We know, of course, from the video just how important bullfighting was to Hemingway, how much he adored it, and how he really admired the lives that these matadors live. And it really is encapsulated by one single line that's said by Jake. Nobody ever lives their life all the way up except bullfighters. So, what exactly about it makes the bullfighters special? What makes these matadors different from all the rest of us? And why do we think Hemingway was so enamored with them? Why was he so impressed and awed by them? Well, I think it really comes down to two things. For starters, bullfighters exhibit this idea of grace under pressure. They are, and for all intents and purposes, grace under pressure personified. The really, really good ones, the ones who are masters of their trade, if you will, they are completely composed on the outside. They are calm, cool, and collected, never showing any of their emotions, even though on the inside it has to be chaotic, where they're constantly making judgments. They're constantly figuring out where the bull is going to go and trying to anticipate its every move and trying to manipulate the actions of the bull. All the while, they have to recognize as well that death is always around them. They are a misstep away from being gored by the bull, if not killed and seriously injured. But there is an understanding among the matadors, right, that they can control the manner in which they meet this demise, or at least in which they meet this danger. And it's with that calm, cool demeanor, with dignity. So, for us, are the bullfighters these quote unquote Hemingway heroes? And I think the answer is resoundingly yes. And it all, again, stems back to this idea of grace under pressure. So, again, we've got more characters. This one is just sort of a generic character for now that serves as a point of comparison for the rest of them. Certainly, the bullfighters are much different mentality wise than Robert Cohn. And now we'll think about them in terms of Jacob Barnes. Will he sort of fit that mold of that Hemingway hero as exhibited by our matadors? At the end of chapter 1, we mentioned looking ahead to the lost generation and how it will manifest itself in the novel. And in chapter 2, we start to get some ideas. First, through Robert Cohn, he says a couple of things that are particularly telling. He says, I can't stand to think of my life as going so fast and I'm not really living it. Well, above all else, this shows us a lack of purpose and meaning in his life. He doesn't really know what to do. And the question for me is, well, what does he mean by not really living it? How does he define that? And conversely, how do we define it? Because I think that's going to depend, how we define it is going to significantly influence how we interpret his character and how we interpret his decisions. He also says to Jake later on, don't you ever get the feeling that all your life is going by and you're not taking advantage of it? Do you realize you've lived nearly half the time you have to live already? And for me, this is a sign of despair, a sign of depression, right? Someone who has started to understand the way the world works, right? You know, Cohn, I think, he started to figure out this true nature of the universe, or at least has gotten a little bit of a glimpse of it, but he doesn't really know what to do with it. And I think that's what gives him these classic anti hero qualities because he doesn't know how to respond to these emotions. He looks to books. Jake makes fun of him for reading this particular book um, that is ill preparing him for the real world and sort of giving him these false ideas and fantasies. And of course, he wants to travel as well, and he sees that as being sort of the solution to his malaise and to his problems. But Jake, on the other hand, is a little bit different, right? Jake has experienced a lot of these same emotions, but he has a better understanding of them. He not only has a better understanding of them, he also has a better understanding of how to address them and how to confront them. He says at one point, I've had plenty to worry about one time or other. I'm through worrying, right? He's clearly evaluated his experience and is now living according to that experience. And again, you can't get away from yourself by moving from one place to another. There's nothing to that. And again, he's addressing Cohn's desire to travel, as if traveling is going to fix everything that is wrong with the world. And Jacob understands that that is not quite the case. He knows from experience that moving around is really just going to mask these feelings of despair and depression for a short period of time. So Jake understands that purpose and meaning are found within ourselves. Now, whether or not he's actually able to find that purpose and that meaning and that value remains to be seen. So there we have it with chapter 2. I'll be back in a little while to talk about chapter 3, and we'll continue on with our reading throughout the week. As always, if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to email me or send me a Google message. You can also log in from 10 to 12 on Google Meet and chat face-to-face so we can talk about the book or any of the other assignments that you have going on. Hope all is well, and I'll talk to you soon.